Hello, and welcome to this week's HDS Focus podcast, in which we talk to industry veteran John Maruna. John has been with HDS since 2016 and has been in the industry for over 30 years. I met John back in 2016 when HDS was looking to purchase Stewart & Associates out of Cleveland, Ohio. John has had a lot of success in this industry. And what you're going to hear is how relationships have led to most of John's success, which has really been a common theme in all of our Focus podcasts so far. You're also going to hear about how important it is to find a mentor or a coach that can assist in your sales development. So let's get this interview started.
This week, we're going to have John Maruna talk a little bit about his career and where he's seen some great successes and some of his challenges and where he sees the industry going. So, John, I know you're on the call, and I'm excited to now. I can't even believe it. I've known you now for over 4 years, and time's really flying and going fast. But I'd like you to share with the team. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Want to start off, I've been married 35 years, and in terms of the spirit of this call with regard to sales, that was probably my best sales job of my life. My wife had a boyfriend at the time, i.e. another vendor, so I made contact with the prospect. I shared with her my value proposition. I broke them up, and then I got the account. So 35 years later, 4 sons, which one of them, Terry, and I have Timmy, Michael, and Christopher are my 3 other boys. We were married very young and had kids very young, which was probably the best thing that could happen to me. It caused me to grow up fast. It caused me to become very focused, and it made me have a purpose that had nothing to do with me. So it probably helped that I was one of 8 kids, and I grew up in Cleveland Heights to Catholic, Irish, and Bohemian parents, and I really lived a childhood that was like the Cleavers. We didn't have a lot growing up, and we never knew it. It was really a perfect childhood. In fact, I tell my mom all the time. My dad's been deceased, but I tell my mom all the time that her and my dad did an awful job of preparing us for life and all the crap that life throws at you, because we never saw it. It was rainbows and candy, and but I can't think of anything that we didn't have. So and we didn't have a lot, but we never knew it. We always went to Catholic schools. I went to St. Anne's and Benedictine, and then I went to Bowling Green and Cleveland State. So gives you a little bit of background.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know some of your hobbies are golf, and you do a lot of business on the golf side of things. Tell us the famous person that you got the caddy for when you were I think a teenager.
So I did get the caddy for Bob Hope when I was like 15 years old. And the real interesting thing was, at the time, everyone knew who Bob Hope was because you always watch his Christmas specials. And that was really the only way you got to see like the All-American football players. And so I went up and introduced myself to him, that I'd be caddying for him. And I said, "Hi, I'm John Maruna. I'll be your caddy." And he said, "Hello, I'm Bob Hope." And I was like, no shit. No crap, sorry. So that was kind of interesting. But I do like to play golf. It's one of my hobbies. And one of the reasons it is great for business, I mean, if you call a client of yours who's either a good client or a great client or a bad client, and you ask him for a 4-hour meeting, he's gonna hang up, or she's gonna hang up on you. But if you take him or her golfing, and I've taken women golfing too, it's a 4-hour meeting, and you get to hang out with them. You'll have a cocktail, maybe a cigar. You'll bet, you'll laugh, you'll listen to music. It's a great way to spend time with people. You really get to know them, and you really, like I said, it's a 4-hour meeting. It's great. So it doesn't have to be golf, but if you can do anything that is hobby related, that you can lock someone down for a long time. Some of the other things I like to do is I love to read. I think it makes you much more knowledgeable in a lot of different areas. I would actually add books on tape since we drive a lot, but kind of a news junkie, and I'm trying to learn more about the stock market, especially when I read that Warren Buffett made 95% of his wealth after the age of 50. So kind of
Wow.
makes you think that you can still do things, especially if we all live to be 90. One of the things that you wanted me to talk about, Mark, quickly were the people that were very influential in my life. I would start with my parents. I mean, like I said, I was one of 8, and so that, I have 4 kids, and I think that is unbelievable. They had 8. I think if you have 8 kids, you go right to heaven. That's sort of what I think. But they taught us all the good things in life, hard work and humility, and how to be unselfish. Couple of other people that were actually very influential in my business life one was a caddy master at Canterbury. I caddied for 12 years, and he gave me 2 great pieces of advice. One was, he said, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're hustling, but you always have to appear to be hustling. He said that was some of the best advice I ever got. The other great advice he got me from, maximizing my revenue while I was caddying is always cheer for your player. If he hits a shot and it's going towards a lake, you say, don't go in the water, something like that. And that's what we kind of do with our clients too. We're always trying to cheer them on, trying to help them be better at their job, and make sure that that their job, every time someone gives you a project, they're taking part of their job and they're giving it to you. And I always try to let my clients know that I understand that dynamic, and that I respect
that's great
it.
advice. That's great advice.
And then go on, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, what led you to the promotional product industry and print industry?
Yeah, so actually, I was going to school, and a family friend of mine, actually a friend of my father's, saw me and took the time to talk to me, and he said, if you want to get in sales, having a degree is great, but at the time I think I had 2 kids at the time, and I was going to school part-time and pushing dead bodies part-time, and he said, you really got to get sales experience. So he gave me sales experience. He gave me a job in the printing business, and then I was able to roll that into a job with GBS. That was a company that basically sold business form programs out of North Canton, and he helped me get that job too. And he was very influential in my career. He actually, at the time, taught me how to use a recipe box. So those little recipe boxes that people keep recipe cards in.
Yeah.
And I used that, and I had tabs, and I had a tab for every month, and then I had a tab alphabetical, and I kept all my contacts in alphabetical until I had to contact them in a month, and I just moved that card to the month, and that's how I'd follow up. So at ease is really that tool, but just in technology, which is just much easier to use.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in all the successes that you have, what do you attribute to all the success that you've had in your career so far?
Well, I think, I've evolved a little bit. When I started, I think I've never done anything habitually well, and that's probably one of my biggest deficiencies in sales. I think the people who develop great habits and follow those are the people who always achieve success, and I think some of the real high producers here exhibit those qualities, and they repeatedly do the same thing over and over, and that's kind of always been where I've fallen short. What I have always done is I've always gone to work, and I think that's half. You hear the saying, showing up is half success. If you show up all the time and work, you're gonna be successful. That's that's one of the things I believe. But
that's great.
and always be selling and never lose an account. I mean, you can't lose accounts. If you're losing accounts, even if you can add 2 a month, if you lose them, it doesn't do you any good. So you got to make sure, and that's where the relationships really come into really benefit you. If you can develop good relationships, you don't lose accounts.
And I know of all people as well too, and just learning a lot about you. That's one of the greatest things that you have with your clients is that relationship that you've had for years and years and years with some of your top accounts. That's really led to a lot of your success.
I would add also, Mark, that one of my focuses recently that has changed is, and this isn't, it turns into a business issue a little bit, but I try and stress to be happy at all times, and I think that's important. It's really easy to get down on things. I mean, I'll give a shout out to Mary Jaber, who has a lot on her plate. She's one of the happiest people that work in this company, and I know that's a choice that she makes. Yeah, and that's not an easy thing. It's a conscious choice that we make, and that's one of the things I've tried to do, and I think it's helped me. I think it helps your relationships. I mean, if you can be happy all the time, I think it's good for everyone and yourself and everything you do. So
yeah, another great advice. So with all that, what are some of the roadblocks that you face in your career on a daily basis?
So from just strictly sales, and this is me talking, I'm probably going to commit sales suicide here. But the first one is technology. I mean, technology is very tough. It's not like it used to be back in the day when you and I started, Mark. You could call into any company and someone would answer the phone, and you could find out who was responsible for buying X, and you could get to that person. Now there's no contacting people. So that's just a little bit tougher. The tougher thing that I work on constantly is motivational techniques for me. I've been doing it 30 years. Once again, people like yourself and Ned and Bob Namberg, all the old people. I don't want to name anyone else as old because they'd probably get mad at me. Maybe that guy in Phoenix, not Namberg, the other guy. I don't want to say his name. But anyway, that I didn't say that. But those are the ones that that's what we work on. I mean, you should be motivated to your job, but that's one of my challenges that I've been working on a lot.
Yeah, that's good. So what do you view as HDS's biggest asset and that every rep should be taking advantage of within our company?
Well, so I think there's a couple things. I think, a quick shout out to Tim Gilbride. I was at the Monster Suite, and one of the people said one of the reasons they use us is because of the fact that we do everything. And that's our biggest asset. We should be a one-stop shop for our clients. A lot of times people, I mean, that's an easy thing to say, but sometimes you're leery of saying things like that. You don't want to be too all-encompassing, at least when you sell, but that's really what we do. So you got to be able to, deliver that message without sounding like, a typical salesperson. But we can do that, and we should be doing it. I think that's one of the biggest things. I think the other thing is, we can create, each sales rep can create the company that they want to sell for, meaning the way we pitch our clients. So I think that's an important thing. You design the company as you want. I try and say that we're a marketing services company with a concentration on print and promotional products, because I don't want someone to ask us to develop a marketing plan. but I sure want to execute that marketing plan. So I think that we have the freedom to kind of design the company that we want to sell. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's great. So, knowing what you know today, what advice would you give to somebody that is wanting to pursue a career in a promotional product industry and print industry?
So, I would definitely, once again, if someone was interested in doing this, I would sell them on the fact that it is a marketing services sales position, and definitely not a print sales position. I mean, I used to sell, $1.5 million of print. Now I sell probably $500,000 in print. It's going away. Promotional products is growing, however. But I think we can sell a wider net, or throw a wider net if we say a marketing services company. I would tell people that that the money is great. I mean, that's the big thing, especially our company. I mean, the one other thing, and not to sound like a shill for management, but I'm going to be a shill for management for a minute, is that, if you sell, $10 million, you're going to make $2 million or somewhere in that area. Not a lot of companies do that. They usually max you out. And I've had a lot of discussions with ownership about this. And to a man, they all say, yeah, sell more. We'll give you more, and that doesn't always happen. So the money that we can make is great. And that's the number one reason you go into sales. So if you're going to go into sales, you pick a company that is going to be supportive. HDS does that, and doesn't cap your revenue. HDS does that. So.
Yeah, that's great. Where do you see the future of our industry going?
So that's one of the questions you gave me, and I always just look at this. I don't look at this from an industry standpoint of promotional products or print. I look at this as it's a sales position, and there's always going to be sales as a career, and so we just need to figure out how best we can sell our product. We talk about the 4 imprints and the Walmart getting into this and the Amazon's getting into this. That's great. And that's for the people that want to buy a mug for a 24-person family reunion. We need to take the tools that we have. We need to find the best clients, and we need to sell the best clients, which also means I think we need to stay up to speed on selling. That's what I think is the biggest thing, is how do we sell? Read a lot of sales books. The best sales book I ever read was a book called Strategic Selling. It actually goes into the technical aspect of sales. One of the other questions that we had on here that we haven't discussed is, how do you get in to see people? There's technology plays such a role in being a barrier to finding, the buyers. And in this book, Strategic Selling, they talk about how it's important, actually it's imperative, to find a coach in every account. And the coach will find the information for you within an account, and they'll help you get to that person. And they may even help you sell the person. And the coach might even be the person that has to make the decision. But without the coach in an account, we're kind of just, flapping like a fish out of water. So, Strategic Selling would be a great book that I'd recommend. Things like get a mentor, find a mentor who's been in sales that can help you. Most people love to be mentors and love to be coaches.
Really appreciate you taking the time to talk, John, and share some of your advice and some of your experiences. I think you're one of the top sales reps in the industry, and you've proven that time and time again. And I know everybody at HDS appreciates you and your efforts and your expertise that you bring to the table. So we we are very excited to be able to move into the future with someone of your caliber on our team. And you are, I know, especially in the Cleveland office, a mentor to a lot of our sales reps up there, and they look to you for advice and sharing of ideas. So we really appreciate everything you do for HDS.
Thanks for having me on.
I want to thank John Maruna again for taking the time today to have a conversation with all of us at HDS. A couple of the things that I thought were very important key subjects that we talked about and key points that John pointed out was always being there and cheering for the player. And what he meant by that was be there for your teammates, cheer on your clients as well too. There's nothing better than being a great team player and cheering others on. I also thought it was important, and what he had talked about is showing up, being there on time. And what we'll find when you show up is that success will follow. And to be persistent and have that great perseverance is all a part of showing up. He also talks about how important it is to learn and evolve. And one of the ways that John has done that is through reading and learning more and more and keep educating yourself about the sales process. So John has done a great job evolving throughout his 30-year career. He also talked about developing relationships with your clients, which again has been a common theme throughout all of our podcasts so far. Another key area that I thought was most important, and I think we can all be, and that's have a great attitude and focus on being happy at all times, no matter what those circumstances are. People want to buy from happy people. They want to buy from people that have a great attitude. So that was great advice. He also talks about some of the biggest challenges that he has, and it's technology and how technology is really, even though it's helped us in so many ways, it's actually been a barrier in a lot of ways. And for those of us that have made cold calls back in the 80s and early 90s, specifically even before caller ID, it was much easier to get in touch with and find out who that buyer actually was. So we all have to keep technology obviously in the forefront, but we also have to learn new ways of finding those contacts and those buyers. Another key interesting area that I thought we talked about that is a good note to take with us is to find a mentor or a coach that you can bounce ideas off of. Or if you make mistakes and you want to find a way, find a solution, you can always talk to that mentor. That mentor is someone that's made all those same mistakes. So if you're able to avoid some of them by having that mentor, that's very important as well. So again, I wanted to thank John for taking the time today. I thought we got some really good, valuable information, and I look forward to our call next week. I'll talk to you guys then. Thanks.